Hi everyone, happy Saturday. So I have another haul video for you this month. I saw a few items I wanted to pick up, and I thought it was during my last haul video, but it might have been in a separate video. One of the people that watches the channel, Brittany, recommended some different acrylic paint pens to try, and I got interested, and so I ordered some small packs of them and figured I would show them today as well. And I guess I picked a few things up more. I'm going to be, I keep buying stuff and say, this is for my birthday, and like, where it should just be one thing and that be that. But that's okay. We'll go through those. And then quickly, I'll show you the books I've picked up this month. I do have full flip throughs of all of them, so I'll just be showing a few pages of each of those books. But if I sound a little more muted than usual, I've had a really busy past few weekends going to some different events here in the Nashville area with my brother, and we went to the Middle Tennessee Anime Convention last weekend. Had a lot of fun. I did wear a mask when we were inside and in like public spaces because my immune system's so shot lately. It feels like every time I go out, I pick up something if I'm not extra careful. But unfortunately, it still seems like I picked up a bit of a virus this week because I have been feeling off. Thankfully, I think the mask helped with what they call viral load because it is not as bad as it probably would have been had I not been masking, but it's still affecting my head and my stomach pretty well. So I am not feeling my best. I am probably going to be doing a lot of resting this weekend. But I wanted to go ahead and do this because if I say I'm going to do it tomorrow, it just won't get done. And all these things will sit here another week. And like, I would like to be able to get them sorted and put away and use them for coloring, which I already have been. So we'll start with the small things because they're the easiest. So I got sucked in by an ad on Facebook or Instagram. I'm not sure which one. And I saw this and I thought it might be an interesting way to choose colors. It is a pen and it's called the Color Fidget by the great Muse. And basically what it is a palette picker. So you have these two different dials, the top one and the bottom one. And basically what you can do is just spin these around in whatever configuration you want. And they're supposed to help you pick a palette. So for instance, let's say I'm playing around with it, and you can put them any which way you want. Like I could do that there. And I have some yellows, yellow oranges, I have some blue greens, I have a kind of aqua sky blue down there, I have some pinks, light brown pinks in here I could play with, and then some purples. So I do use Sarah Renee Clark's color cubes a lot. I come up with palettes on my own, but I thought this would be useful, especially if I have a Sarah Renee Clark color cube palette. Oftentimes I need an extra color too. I get really, the 4 or 5 color palettes really I struggle with. I need like a few more colors usually. And so I thought this might be helpful in letting me find that. This will be helpful in letting me pick palettes from scratch. It is unique. I don't see this being used. I think obviously it's something artists typically would use more. And did I really need it? Yeah, probably not. But nonetheless, it is fun. So like you could do that, and that really expands your color options. You could do that, and do that and get like colors across the board. So like I said, I thought it might be just something fun to have easy access to play around with, kind of similar to the paper uh, palette pickers, and I have one of those, but it is somewhere in a pile of papers. I do not store paper very well. I freely admit that. Um, Continuing in the search for a really good white to use on over different art mediums, particularly marker. I saw this. This is a Copic Opaque White. It does have a brush. I was surprised at how small this was. I think this was like 10 or 15 bucks on Amazon. And I was a little surprised that it was so small. It's basically like a nail polish bottle. But this is supposed to be an opaque white that you could use for highlights or stars or little white extras, accents you want to add to a coloring page that should hopefully keep from absorbing the layer of the marker underneath. Find that to be a big problem, particularly with white gel pens. The only thing I have found to fully combat that in white acrylic paint pens, the only thing I've fully been able to find to combat that is this, which is the bleed proof white. And I've keep saying it, and I will keep saying it, and maybe one day it'll be out there. But if they could put this in like an acrylic paint pen or some sort of paint pen, this would be all I would ever buy. I wouldn't buy white gel pens anymore. I wouldn't buy white paint pens. I wouldn't. This would be all I would use because it's just that good. And we're going to do a little mini test of this stuff today just because I have so many different white paint pens that I happened to pick up this time. I thought it would be a fun opportunity just to do a quick demo. Now, the one thing the Copic has going for it is it does already have a little brush. It's just a very fine brush though, like finer than a nail polish brush. So this is the Copic Opaque White. I used marker to put 3. Obviously you want to use a little better movement than, and you don't have to use this brush. You could use your own different paintbrush if you wanted to get different size, thickness of lines or dots or what have you, whatever you're trying to achieve. I picked the 3 top colors that I have problems with in markers. It's a dark red, which usually turns it pink, a violet red, and then an orange. The violet red will turn pink, and the orange will usually turn yellow, if it covers it all. So I figured we would just do a little test today while we were at it. And while I'm sitting here talking about it, we'll just go ahead and do the PH Martin. Now, like I said, everything else I'm showing you is new, but the PH Martin's what I've had when I really want to use white on a space like this, or I want to make sure that it's a good crisp white. I use this. Problem is, it's a good sized bottle. It's a lot more than what you get in the Copic, but it gets gummy. Like the last bottle I had to just end up buying a new one, and I'm just using a regular brush and just dipping it in like I would paint. Obviously it's a thicker brush. But since I had the other paint markers coming in from the other, like, I guess fancier, less budget-friendly sets, I figured let's just try them all today and do a quick little demo, rather than me come back in a month and tell you what works and what doesn't. Let's just do it now as we go along. Alright. And it does dry kind of funky on the brush, so I definitely make sure I go wash that brush right after this video. Alright. So we got those. Speaking of white gel pens, I bought some more. Now, if I am using a white gel pen, this is what I go with. The Jelly Roll Classics, the 10 bold line points. I guess it says 1.0. The 8s are usually, I have a couple 8s, but I usually don't use those unless I need like really tiny spaces. But these can work well in a picture, particularly if I'm going over black outlines in a picture and I'm tapping it. But I do have problems if I don't tap it or mix it. It starts running translucent, and then I have to like do this again. Now, I live in Tennessee. I fully believe that things like temperature and humidity probably affect things like this. So it can be pretty humid here. We're just coming out of a pretty cold winter. So that could have something to do with it. Alright, so alright. So we'll use that's the paint pan, Jelly Roll. I do like the gel pens and paint pens because it is a lot easier to get a point. However, if you notice on that one, immediately that white line went yellow. So even the Jelly Roll struggles with certain colors. Sometimes I'm lazy. And sometimes it's okay. Like if there was a picture I was doing and I was stenciling a pattern in white over, it was a red and orange umbrella or something like that. And I was stenciling a pattern over the top. And you can see the lines a little thinner. Still pretty good for a 10 though. The 8's even, I wish there was an even thicker line. But like immediately when I put that down, that turns yellow. And this is already going pink. But one time I was doing an umbrella and I was stenciling over it in like a little paisley pattern in white. And I realized that it was turning pink and yellow. And I was like, you know what? This actually looks okay. I'm okay with that. But like if you're doing stars in a background or something, that might really impact you. So didn't even have to wait on that one to absorb the yellow underneath. And I let this marker dry overnight, so it's not, the marker's still wet. And the pink on the red. The red violet seems to be okay, but it may just, we'll see it as we go along. So these are what I use most of the time because I'm lazy. But if I absolutely want to make sure I get the white, I use the Dr. PH. How's the Copic going so far? Copic's doing alright. The opaque white might be another good choice. Alright, let's get into some markers and some paint pens. I picked up the Grabie 24 glitter marker pack because I heard a lot of good things about them. I don't typically swatch the small packs like this. I probably should, but I usually use them on the fly when I'm doing accents and little bits and pieces on a page. So I don't typically swatch them just because I have a problem with keeping up with paper, and like unless I could swatch it and slide it down in the front of this, because I'll keep these in this pack, so I could probably swatch these and slide it down in the front. It's not on my to-do list. Alright, I did see on the Grabie site, because I tried to use these last week, and they looked more just metallic than glitter. And I saw from a Grabie comment or on their page that you gotta shake them at least like 10 times to make sure everything's mixed. So if I'm shaking, I'm sorry. A lot of shaking in this video. Alright, so this is like the dark blue. You do have to get these going. So they have like a pretty hard tip on them, and you have to kind of press them down to activate them. It's probably our mower. Though if you shake them, it shouldn't take long. So I'm going to do that. Apologizing for the mower sounds in the background. That's a darker color. I'm going to grab an orange so we can see in a lighter color. These do have a ball in them that you can hear when you're shaking them. I thought I was already using the orange. These are water-based, by the way. A little better. I still see... I don't know how to explain it. I still see a little bit of... like, it's not pure orange. There's a little bit of silver mixed in there. The blue doesn't look too bad. As the orange dries, let's see what it does. And then let's try gold. Actually, I want to try the black. I want to see if this is a true black. You know, it is really hard to find good true black glitter markers. Or glitter gel pens. And I noted that about the Grabie glitter gel pen set. Not the iridescent one. I think it's just the pure glitter set, which I have, but I don't know where I put them. Because they're in the video from last month. The black ended up being more of like a red undertone. So sometimes it's hard to find just a black glitter gel pen that is actually black and not red. So the black's a good one to try. If you mix them, it doesn't take very long to activate them. This might be more like a dark gray, but well. So it does have a gray. So like it has a gray, it has some browns, which is unusual in a marker set. One pink and like a violet, excuse me, that's a purple violet. You got your pinks up here. Your purples, your blues, couple pinks, like one soul red marker, greens, which are really hard to tell just from the onset, and then like green blues, which are really hard to tell just from looking at them what the color differences are. So I am probably going to need to swatch this up if I don't want to be swatching them every time I do them. I actually do have a completed page where I used a few of these. I probably need to grab that. I think shaking them, mixing them has helped. But I also do feel like, ooh, you don't want to do that. Don't keep scrubbing over them. Definitely don't keep doing that. I was trying to do that to see if that would help, but it, alas, does not. Alright. I like these because they're a thicker tip on them, or they feel like a thicker tip. So there are your blue, your orange, your black. Your black does look like a true black or a true dark gray, which is not a simple find in the glitter world in my experience. And then the gold looks pretty good. So, let's try one more. I really should have swatched these, sorry. There are a lot of caveats with glitter markers and glitter gel pens. I find sometimes with glitter markers, just the little cheap dollar store ones you can get, can actually be a really good choice, particularly if you're just starting out and just wanting to see if you like them. I don't know if I just didn't let that one sit long enough, but it is a bit scratchy. There. Let's go over it again. Ah, that's better. Yeah, that one acting like it's not really wanting to come out. Alright, so there's your gold and your silver there at the bottom. A good gold, a good silver. I'm happier with these now that I've mixed them. Where's the picture? I did actually color a page. How odd for me. Out of Bunny Days by Alexander Franzese earlier this week, and that's what I used for the eggs. So I just used the glitter markers for the eggs. They give a pretty good shine. Oh, cat hair. I think I actually used them up on there too. And there. Or maybe that was just glitter gel pen. That might have just been the glitter gel pen. Anyway, I like them. I like the variety of colors. I like that they are not indeed metallic, which was what I initially was worried, is they had more of a metallic look on them. They flow. I have the gel pens, but honestly, I like these a little bit better, I think, than I like their gel pens. Wait, is that a swatch? What is this in the back? There's stuff in the back. I never just now realized. Oh, there's cards. Okay, so if you want to color, try them on different cards. I would have done that instead of swatching them had I known, but now I'll put them back in the pack because A, now it's wobbly, and B, they will be forever forgotten now in there until like 2 years from now. I'll open them up and be like, oh yeah, I forgot about those. Okay. So I had a couple of recommendations from Brittany on some higher end acrylic paint pens to try. And these are higher end budget wise. I went and got them because I'm intrigued by the concept, particularly of the ones I'm about to show you. And plus, one of them, I do like the brand, so, these are a bit pricier, but this one here is an interesting concept. So this is Molotow.com. It's a German company, and they make, I don't know if you can buy like the full set. I need to check and see if they're open stock. I'll put that in the description. They make sets of acrylic markers, and I can't remember how much this was. Is this 12? I think so. I got 12, just the basic colors to try. I really like this canister that they come in, like this little thing. So you unscrew it to pull the gel pens out. And then you just screw it back in, which I think is very cool. So what's unique about these? First off, they are pretty large. They're not... They remind me more of the big, bulky acrylic paint pens that like Arteza and some of the other companies did more. And I mean, they're still out there, but I see more of these slimmer type of acrylic paint pens. These remind me of those thicker big boys in their size. So there is paint, I'm assuming, from like here to here. This is what's interesting. Refill. So these are refillable. Refilling with a refill extension. If you go to their site, they have refill ink, refill paint for these paint pens. If I'm not mistaken, and I'm shaking the camera now instead of just me, if I'm not mistaken, you can buy empty pens. You could theoretically make your own acrylic paint mixes and put them in there. Have I tried that? No. But that was the concept. So like these make me think they're kind of like the Copics of the acrylic paint marker world. Because they are pricey, but you can refill them. And you can't refill every alcohol marker. So, we're going to try this pink. It comes with a bullet nib. Did I show that or did I just move faster? Okay, bullet nib. Here goes a mouse. And then it comes with a big end. So yeah, they do look like the old school acrylic paint pens. If you don't like that, if you prefer a brush tip, these might not be for you. Me, when I'm in the... So in the Disney books, generally you need, or in the Disney books, either you need to fill large areas or teeny tiny areas. Like, to me, it never feels like there's just a medium-sized area to fill in. So for big areas, I prefer like this big boy, because it goes a lot faster. For the small miniature areas, I prefer more brush tips because they allow me to get in the smaller areas. I don't particularly like the bullet nibs really on anything. I don't like them on markers. I don't like them on... Most of the time they're scratchy and they just don't do well, but these might be an exception. So... we'll just do this so y'all can keep up my little swatch page here. Alright, so also, unlike the newer, excuse me, goodness, the newer slimline acrylic markers, like the markers we just had, you do have to press these down to activate these. Usually the brush tips are like uncap and go. Some people don't like that. The glitter markers actually activated pretty quickly. Woo! Oh no, oh no. Shouldn't have done that. Shouldn't have done that. That is a disaster. Okay, hang on. Alright, couple things. One, always expect to get messy when you're using anything, or at least in my house. Two, the acrylic paint in these washes out really well if you get it quickly, so good news there. Three, don't go twisting random things on this. So sometimes when you get an acrylic paint marker or a regular marker or something, they put like a little plastic safety thing in place to keep it from leaking. And so I thought this was taking too long, and it was just taking a sweet time is all it was. And so I went twisting things to see if it had one of the safety caps, and right here, this little gray piece, if you ever get these markers, this is where the ink is stored. And it is very easy, not very easy, but if you're unscrewing things and you unscrew this, paint will go everywhere. Like I said, thankfully, we were able, it's a brand new dust mat. I hadn't even had a chance to talk about it yet. And I'd already gotten pink paint all over it, which pink is not, probably my least favorite color. And it was all over my hands. But as you can see, just a little bit didn't come off because I guess I didn't scrub hard enough. So lesson learned. And one of the things I do like about this is it also has a clear window and an indicator of like how much you have left in this, which would be really nice. So like that's definitely one thing you don't have to usually worry about with brush tip markers, is being able to easily access the ink well. But if you're going to refill them, obviously you need to have access to them. Alright, now it's moving a little faster. Apparently I got it to go. That was really funny. That is a very nice flow. No streaking. Just a really nice flow of ink. So let's just square it off. And we can try the bullet tip, or the other side looks more like a bullet tip in my opinion, but maybe not. Maybe this is considered more of a bullet tip. The other side's like a round tip. Yeah, these old school markers, that's the only thing. Once you get them going, they're fine. And like, if they sit for a while, you may have to do this to get them going again. But I much prefer that bigger kind of bulky tip for filling in large areas. And that is the first smaller tip like that that isn't scratchy or streaky. It actually fills in very nicely. I mean, for the price, no offense, but for the price, they should be doing this well. It's probably a smart-ass comment, but I shouldn't expect less performance in them. Alright, we're going to do... So, we've got... This is a basic set, and this is the one I'll link to. A pink, a dark blue, a light blue, a medium type of green, blue-green color, this neon, I guess like a lime green, purple, orange, red, yellow, gray, black. I'm particularly intrigued by the black one because I love using black acrylic when I'm doing backgrounds and stuff, and so having that bigger, bulkier, and then the pink. So like I said, your very basic color set in this. What did I say I was going to try? We tried like a dark color. So yeah, don't go twisting random things on these. Just so you know. But yeah, they are more expensive. However, if you are looking for a more sustainable type of acrylic paint pen, you hate using them and then throwing them away, you want to be able to refill them. It's kind of like with Copics. It comes with a catch. You have to pay more per pen, but then with the refills and stuff, then that keeps you from having to buy as many other pens. These also, as far as I know, do not come in a brush tip, so that might be another reason why you would say no. I had not heard of these before, but my assumption is, given the quality of them, they're probably pretty big outside the US. We're just going to try one more, and then, like I said, once you get them started, they should be pretty okay. The cheaper ones, like, sometimes you have to stop and, like, do this a little bit just to get them going again, but I don't know if that'll be the case with these. I guess we'll see. I've not had time to test these out. Yeah, they just take their sweet time. I also assume on their site they have replacement nibs. Wow, these really do take a long time to activate. They are not playing around. Had I known this, I would have went ahead and done this prior to the call, but I guess this is good information to have. If you're working with more than a handful of colors, this could get, and you just get a fresh batch of markers. This could be pretty frustrating. Okay. And even that's not fully full yet. Even with the marker not fully engulfed. It's still a very smooth color. I don't even get that much. It's a little, obviously it's not as thick as this because it's not fully activated. However, even just that little bit got me a really nice color. So yeah, I want to play with these. I want to see how they do. That Cat's Felines Disney book I have will probably be a good choice for these because it doesn't have very complicated pages. I'd like to do a page where I kind of use, oh my gosh, okay, yeah, no, we're not going to sit here and wait on me to activate this. This is crazy. So yeah, it's already one pain in the behind on these. Now, there may be directions on their site. There may be a better way to do this, and an easier way to do this, and I'm not doing this right. I may not need to shake them at all, which I think is unlikely, but alright. We're going to do this for our white test. If you want to move on to the next piece, I completely understand. Actually, I'm going to pause this and then... Excellent. There we go. Alright. And you can use the other side to do the lines. Well, I already see that one absorbing the yellow underneath. Which is a pity. I even give it 2 layers to see. Yeah, that one's already absorbing the yellow. Right. Overall, I am not dissatisfied with these. I just need some time to actually color with them. I would like to get them activated, color with them, let them sit for a little bit, and then try to color with them again and see how they do. But the idea of refills really does, especially for like just this set of basic colors. Like if you just got 1 or 2 where you always had like, especially if you like using them in color by numbers, these would be useful. Alright, another one. Copic has paint markers. Acrea. Again, in the pricey range, I kind of weaseled out and just got the simple set that has like the silver, the gold, and then grays and blacks and browns. Just because I want to get these to try them, but I want to make sure I get markers I'm going to actually use too. And I'm always in the need for black and white acrylic paint markers. These just come in a little cardboard box. I don't know anything else about them. They look like this. Let's grab the brown color. This is sepia toned. It looks like it has the one end. They are each individually wrapped in plastic, which I know probably preserves the paint or the ink inside, but again, does not lend itself well to these types of videos. Had I known that, I would have already taken these off. Ow. Alright. I went ahead and pulled the plastic off 3 of them. Well, you would think my irritation with swatching and packaging would lend me to maybe not buy as much stuff, but oh, my rational mind can't possibly comprehend. Alright, comparison, you got this really thick paint marker here, and then the Copic is a thinner, more slimline marker. This one has kind of that little bullet tip, and then the big, thicker tip. This one just has the bullet tip. I can't remember the price point differences. And then this one you also have to pump to shake and probably pump to activate. Trust me, trust and believe I get the appeal of the brush paint markers. Like, I am getting to the point I much prefer using those because all this, whoa, that came out quick. Okay, well, you don't have to wait on those, so that's good. Oh, wow. So would I want to use this on a very large area? No, because of the size of the bullet tip. Very annoying. Would drive me crazy in a large area. However, if you had small detail areas, man, it came out in a flood and then like it's almost like it dried up a little bit. So there's that sepia brown. I figured let's try the gold. It has the ball in it, so it should be, I don't know. There's probably something on the box that says don't shake them. Wouldn't surprise me. No, it says shake them. Shake them about 20 times. So these are more you just dab them down and they are ready to go. It's not a lot of like pumping or waiting action like we did with those other ones. Very cool. I do like that. I worry about the slimline markers and like these because I don't know how long they'll last. Those are like, that's what gives me hesitation about them. But I do like how those work. However, given the size of the tips, I would much rather use those for detail work. So like if you wanted to add a gold, so that was a kind of metallic gold. And it looks pretty nice. I imagine, so there's a silver in this pack that I'll link. There's a silver, there's a gray, there's a black, a white, a gold, and a sepia tone. So like this would probably be a good set for accents. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to get it. Because I knew I could probably use this. Okay, see, again, you definitely don't have to don't pump it, or don't, if you ever get these, don't like be aggressive in trying to get the paint into the tip because it's already like, it's ready to go. Alright. And the yellow's already coming through. Womp womp. But see, this is what I'm talking about. Even with your higher end, white acrylic markers and paint pens and what have you. I don't know what constitutes an acrylic marker, what constitutes a paint pen. Okay. So yeah, those, ooh, that really absorbed it right there. So far, it seems like the Copic, Opaque White, and the Dr. PH really are going neck and neck. However, should have made that line a little thicker because it's kind of hard to tell. I don't think the pink is absorbing, but it's a little hard to tell on that one. The white seemed to do okay on these two though. The Jelly Roll definitely went pink, and this is definitely getting some pink. So I'm telling you though, if PH Martin would put that paint opaque white in a paint pen, or if I guess Copic did that with theirs, they would have a, I think they would have a winner. That would eliminate a lot of my white gel pens and paint pens and things like that, because I would probably just solely use that for like highlight work. Okay, so there's that. So those are all like the small, little, medium-sized swatch things. We have one other thing to test, and we're going to cover that next. So I'm going to pull this for a minute. The two big items I got, no, three. I wasn't going to get these because I don't have a Temu account. And I saw that they were cheaper if you get them on Temu. And I kept waffling and waffling. And I opened an account, and I think honestly this will be the only thing I get from them. These are, well, that's the very end. That's not pretty. These are the Languo pens, paint. I don't know if they're necessarily gel pens. I threw away all the plastic packages because they were driving me crazy. They're pens. I don't think they're gel. I think they've got more like acrylic paint inside of them. But I did buy that huge 160 something Languo set from Temu. And I actually had a 200 pencil case that they actually fit pretty good into. I just leave a space between each set of 9. And that's what they look like. I found this swatch on Etsy, and I will link it. However, these are numbered, and the pens have no number on them. I even used Google Translate on the packages to see if like the little indicators at the bottom were numbers, but they're just color names. So I couldn't find the numbers anywhere. So I think these numbers were just generated. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know where the numbers came from. I'm not too worried about that. I'm not going to write a number on all these little pens. So it's very important that I keep them in the order that I swatched them in here. Like I can't just be pulling pens out willy-nilly and not know how to throw them back in. So that's like the one caveat to this is if I don't use the little plastic packages, I gotta be careful about what I pull out, use, and put back, and make sure I keep it all in order. However, I found the swatch and I decided to use it, and I used Google Translate to get most of the names were already translated, but some of them I had to use the Google Translate for. I did this one entirely because I wanted to see how opaque they are. They are kind of opaque, but I think you would have to go over this with a white, then go over with the color to really get rid of that black line, at least on this heavy cardstock paper. It might be different on the thinner coloring pages. So they're opaque, but maybe not as much as I was kind of hoping for. But we have a warm yellow. They're each sets of 9. You have like a warm yellow, a reddish yellow, a mallard, and a colorful black. I really do like the colors. I have to say I was pretty impressed. There are a good wide variety of colors, and really colors that you could kind of build on, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But like the colorful black, I like the really dark colors there. Love the neon e-colors. This is kind of like a slightly softer version of these. And then you do have a gold, silver, and white, which do alright. I think I like the Copic gold better than these. But obviously these are way cheaper than the Copic paint pens, so and I did use the white. It wasn't 100% opaque, but we're going to test it on our other sheet. This one had one called Sketch Color, but I couldn't find it in the set I bought, so either it was renamed. There are a few issues with this. It's probably not issues. There are a few extra pieces of this swatch sheet I didn't need, and it may be that the pens are available as different names or in different sets that aren't easy to get. Maybe these are like limited edition ones, so I just colored in the ones that I had, and everywhere I looked it was 162, so I don't know what those are, but you know, no big deal. You do have skin colors, which is really nice. You got a pink set, and then like a lipstick red. What I'm going to do is cut all these out, hole punch them, and then put them like on this case so that it's easy, because otherwise the pens are so thick in the swatch book that I don't think I can keep the swatches in the book, so I'm going to have to like keep them on the outside. I'm finding I cannot keep my swatches separate. If I put them in a book, they get pulled out, they get lost. If I keep them in paper form, they get lost. The only way I can really keep up my swatches is to keep them with the medium that they're swatched for. All right, this is the interesting set. There are 4 Mirandis. There's a sweet, salt, retro, and Nordic. And they're all like different shades. So you go from your lightest to your darkest for each of these. So this would be really interesting. You know, I have to say their color range, I would love to see a pencil set like this. I think that would be a lot of fun, like a good pencil set. I love this color scheme in the Mirandi, and I love the fact that, you know, you have like a dark to light of each of the colors. I'm trying to figure out how I could use that. I have ideas of how to use that on a coloring page, like layering these, but they're also pretty fine tips, so I don't know, like, that would be for small, tiny detail areas. Like, I couldn't see doing that over a large area. And then you got your greens, your purples, and your blues. So when I talk about Disney books, those are like the primary reason I was looking at these. For the like super detailed ones, I'm having a lot of trouble finding something that will fit in those areas. So either the bullet tips of like the Molotow paint pens, the Copics, if I have the associated colors, or these would be really good for tiny detail areas and tiny detail areas on any coloring page. So I'll show you. What's really cool is the second highlight one only has 3 swatches, if you noticed. But in the pack, you get 3 gold, 3 silver, and 3 white. The white one, I can take or leave, but the gold and silver are okay. So I do like to give you more of those. We're going to take a quick look at the white paint pen. Actually, I'm going to just grab a random one. But see, this is what I'm talking about. If I grab a random one, I got to make sure I don't grab a bunch out of like here, because then I'm not going to remember where to put them because they're not numbered. So you got to be real careful. I got to be real careful with that. I am not writing out numbers for every one of these pens. I'm just not going to do it. Just if somebody else wants to, and that is meditative to them and that helps them use, this is the thing, do with your mediums what helps you use them the most. If not having them swatched gives you anxiety and you need them to be individually labeled and you will actually use them, and maybe it's a meditative process to label them, I say go for it. I don't have the patience or the time for that. So this is the best way for me to use these. But I was going to show you, so these do have a pretty tiny point. They are not like the Jelly Roll 10s. They do have a pretty fine point. However, the flow of ink is really nice. I didn't have a single pen dry on me. There were 18 packs of 9 in that box. And when I tell you, as I was swatching these, I was like, Michelle, you gotta stop with this. We can't, like, nothing turns me off buying more supplies than having to swatch the ones I just bought. Like, when I tell you that. And that's the thing, some people don't even need swatching. They can use them and they're happy that way and they just swatch them as they go along. Um, it doesn't work that way for me. I have to have them swatched if I want to use them. I found that really the stuff I don't have swatched is sitting unused in a drawer. The stuff I have swatched is the stuff I tend to pull out. So it's important to me to have them swatched. And I like to swatch them before these videos so that you can see along with me what they look like. And so these again, small detail areas. I am not doing a background in these pens. They are just too tiny. However, the flow is nice. They don't skip. Some flow better than others. But these are definitely like detail pens for me, for detail areas, which is fine. I would like to try these in a George Tufexis picture. It's been forever and a day since I've done a George Tufexis picture, and it's because what I really like to use this is how tree, like really small slimline markers. And I went a really long time without coloring in them, and like a bunch of them went dry. And I just didn't want to buy another set, then color in a few months, then not color anymore for a while, and then run dry. So I haven't been coloring in them because I just don't have anything I want to do the detail work in, and I don't have the patience for pencils. So these are something I would like to try. All right, our final white item to test is the Languo, I don't know, I'm saying it wrong, gel pens. Again, these are going to give us a teeny tiny line. And it's already turning yellow. I do not have Posca on here. I got Poscas. Poscas did the yellowing or pinking or whatever happens here. And I just didn't need another white paint marker or something that just wasn't going to do what I needed to do. Sometimes you can get so caught up in buying all the different types of paint markers that are out there. All the, we're going to turn this sideways while we're doing this. I found early on, kind of a beginner's coloring tip, I found early on that sometimes you can get so caught up in buying everything of a certain type of coloring medium, like all the water-based markers, all the watercolor markers, all the watercolor pencils, all the colored pencils, and then come to find out at the end of the day, a lot of them are just very similar to each other, and really all you need, you're going to find as, and sometimes, like I live in a very, I'm kind of like Happy Catastrophe in that I live in a fairly rural area, and it's not simple for me to just run to a Michael's, or not a Joann's anymore, but a Michael's, or well, I don't go to Hobby Lobby. Anyway, to go to a craft store or an art store, and it's not easy for me to just pop over to a craft store, pick up a few luminance or Inktense pencils or something to try. Oftentimes, if I want to try something, I have to order it online. And sometimes it is cost prohibitive to order it open stock. And so sometimes that's how I learn what I like to use and what I don't. But especially with the whole white, this white highlights and accents business, I found that really and truly I would use a Jelly Roll gel pen in most cases, but if it's a color that will bleed, I'll use a, Dr. PH or something. Like, I found what I like, but sometimes you can only come to that conclusion until you've tried other things. So, there's a lesson there. And they don't make it easy. I really wish art supply companies would offer more samples. Those Molotow paint pens probably were, I assume, are open stock. I probably could have just bought a couple of them. But it just, if I'm going to spend that kind of money on them, I assume they're not going to be terrible. So I was like, I might as well just get a set of basic colors that I know I'm going to use a lot of. And then if I can refill them, all the better. I went ahead and thickened that line. That was really bothering me because I couldn't 100% tell what it was doing over there. So we might give that one a few minutes to dry while we talk about this last item. But yeah, no, again, our white on colored backgrounds. And again, this varies greatly on the background. I'm primarily using marker because I'm primarily, well, not anymore, but, mostly a marker girly. So far, the Copic, Opaque White, and the Dr. PH are the only ones that truly are white across the board, and I don't have to switch them up because I'm using different colors. Even my Jelly Roll that I like to use didn't do well in the orange. It is lightly pink here, it is lightly pink here, as is the Languo. Molotow did alright. It's got a very light pink, but it's not too bad. And the Copic paint pen also didn't do great. So there's your answer. If you happen to be watching this and you're trying to look for a good white that you can use across paint, marker, whatever, it's going to stay white. It's not going to absorb the color underneath it. I would either go with the bleed proof white or the Copic opaque white. And I will go ahead and list both in the description. And again, it sucks because I would love to have those in a pen format, either like a gel pen or a paint pen format, but we're not there yet. Maybe we continuously ask, they will deliver. All right, one more thing to show you. I know I talked a lot today, and some people just prefer, like, you just slap the supplies down, show them, and move on. But I prefer to show you, because I invested in these, I prefer to show you what I see so that it helps you if you decide you want to invest in that, make a more informed purchase than what I had. So, and at least what my thoughts are on it. Hang on a second. I'm trying to get my Supracolors down for this next item. All right, this next item I can go ahead and talk to. Brittany also let me know that there is a supplementary set to the Carandache Supracolors, which are not my favorite. My second favorite watercolor pencil. Okay, we'll just call them my favorite because they have the biggest color line. The Museum Aquarelle Carandache are actually my favorite, but because there's only 72, we'll just say Supracolors are my favorite. Which are, and I haven't checked this week, but man, when I talked about them in my Leon's Journey video a month or two ago, they were crazy expensive on Amazon. Like, do your homework, use a site like Camel or something like that to look at price history before you make a big purchase like that, because I don't know if it was the threat of tariffs, I don't know what it was, but it was just these. The other Carandache products were fine. So I don't know what was happening there. But definitely, like, I want to do some videos this summer where I talk about my collections, my favorites, and what to do if you're starting out, looking at it from like every budget angle. So anyway, these Supracolor watercolor pencils are a 120 set. And this is the original swatch to that. And these are my tried and trues. They give really good punch of color. I've shown them. If you look at my Leon's Journey picture I did, which actually is right here, I will say these are worth getting, I think, open stock on something like Blick or something and trying a few. Because these are the ones I find that dissolve the best and give the biggest underlying pop of color. Most people use watercolor like as a light wash base, and I do that, but I also like really vibrant pages, and I like really bright pops of color. And so what I used here was the base of the Supracolors, and they just don't look as washed out as other watercolor pencils, and given their price, that's probably why, because of the pigment that's in them. But they are my favorite watercolor pencils to use. And I mean, I've used them maybe not a ton by other people's standards, but to me, I probably use them more than just about any other medium. And like, I don't even think I've had to sharpen them. If I have, I've had to sharpen them once. So they do last a long time. I would recommend on Supracolors, if you like using watercolor pencils, but you want a little more pop in your watercolor pencils as a base before you add like pencils or something in. Or if you just want to use a page with just watercolor and add layers to it, watercolor pencils, I would suggest trying maybe some of these open stock and then waiting for a sale. Because I think these will make you so happy. Like, I have a ton of other watercolor pencil sets and they're just not getting used because I like these so much and I need to start using them. Anyway, I was told there is a supplemental set of 18 that are out, like a special edition set. It was a Secrets of Color thing. And so I did pick these up. Again, these were pricey too. I don't know why. But because I use them so much, and they last a long time for me and how I use them, I didn't mind. So here are the colors in this set. I'm going to add these to my, pencil case, but I'm not going to mix them in just yet. I want to see if a swatch comes out with those 18 added, but then that means I have to re-swatch everything. And y'all know me. I just sat there and talked about how much I hate swatching, and I really don't want to have to do it again, unless I absolutely have to. So we're going to put these at the end of the pencil case. I have room. And then I'm just going to stick this in with this in the pencil case. And, you know, it'll just be an extra sheet that I can fold in. So I might just trim the edge of it. But so here are the colors, and I wanted to show the chart because I kind of wanted to compare. So here you have some bright yellows, but not very many. Like you have your creamiest of yellows, like your light and pale. You have lemon and canary. Naples starts getting a little more orange yellow, and then you've got your bright yellow. Here you actually get two more. You get a light cadmium yellow, which is a little brighter than the lemon yellow. Then your golden bismuth yellow gives you a different shade, a deeper shade than Naples yellow, but not as dark as golden yellow. So it does complement this set. The buff titanium is also kind of a play off of the cream color. That, I don't even know how to pronounce that. Anthraquinoid pink was really needed, because if there is one thing I'm not thrilled about the set is I feel like it doesn't have a lot of light pinks. They're all really dark pinks and reds. So it did need more. You got a hibiscus pink and that one I just said. They give you a couple more light pinks. But if I had one gripe about this, and y'all know I don't like pink. But even I don't think there's enough in here, enough light colors to choose from. You have a dark cadmium orange, which would play well under a slight variance under vermilion. Permanent red is also like between vermilion and scarlet. So a lot of these seem to be kind of in between colors. The Paraline brown, this one looks almost more like a purple or dark pink than a brown. So I'm not really sure. I feel like that fits more over in here. Anyway, you get another purple. So this looks like it is good for in-between shades. So you have here a mauve and a lilac that are pretty big variants. But if you wanted a medium shade, this this purple 115, whatever it's called, is a good medium shade. So it looks like this really is a complimentary set if you are looking for some more shade variances. This blue is actually a little bit of a blue tinged on the violet side, which we don't have a ton of. I love this ice blue that's more of like a teal color. It's like a lighter play on Prussian blue, kind of between light blue and Prussian blue. And then you've also got this one that is, again, a little deeper than light blue. So if you like your Supracolors a lot, but you want a couple more, we're not going to go through the rest of them. But if you like your Supracolors a lot, but you want a little more shade variance, I feel like this is a good supplemental set to get. The price is a little wonky right now. Again, this one may not have as much history because it is like an exclusive limited edition set. And that's the reason I ended up getting it instead of waiting. And plus, like I said, the only problem with limited edition sets, are they going to sell them in the future? Probably not if they say they're limited edition. Or can you buy them open stock, you know? And I don't think you can right now. However, I wear these pencils down so little that, like, for the way I use them, these will last a long time for me, so they are a good investment. So anyway, this does look like a good complement to what we currently have. I was looking over here. Again, kind of a raw russet is a lighter play on russet. You get a French gray. I don't think you get a French gray over here, so it's nice to have one. Yeah. Their grays are a little weird too. So, and then you get like a velvet black that is kind of lighter than black, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, so there are those. And finally, I said last month when I got the Distress watercolor pencils, I said, so I'm going to look to invest in the Distress crayons. Oh, there goes my paper. I'm going to look to, that's not the right box, but you'll see why in a minute. I'm going to look at the Distress crayons. I'm going to buy one set and try them. And that will be, then I will decide whether or not I want them. And then the tariffs thing became a thing. I got a little concerned because I don't know where Tim Holtz makes his products. And so I went ahead and started investing in the crayons. Plus I mean, to be fair, I did watch a few videos. I knew what I was getting. And so the swatch I have that I use for the watercolor pens, so this is the thing. Tim Holtz is using the same color scheme of everything he's putting out, which is very handy if you like using like if you like using it all together. If you like using the watercolor pencils and the inks and the crayons and everything together and the paints, it's really helpful because you know what colors you're getting and they're consistent. I do like that. So I could use the same swatch, which was really nice. I ended up just sticking them in a very large storage box I had, which was this old Color It box. I have no idea how else to store these right now. That isn't clunky because they are larger round than like a colored pencil. Almost the width of those Copic Acrea markers that I just showed you. And I got, and I'll link to it, there was where you could buy all the current, and we're going to rant about that in a minute, current sets available like in bulk together because they come in those little packs just like the Distress watercolor pencils. You could buy them all together instead of having to hunt down each individual set for like one price, and that's what I did. And come to find out, there were 2 more sets that I needed, one of which is sold out, and neither one is on Amazon. So we're going to talk about that in a minute. First, let's just talk about the product. So what I did was, this is a crayon. It is a soft, it kind of looks like this. You twist this. It's a twistable. It's a twistable crayon. And so you can get more of the product, and there are different things you can do with it. So we'll bring back our paper. What I did So these go down silky smooth. So I just swatched them on the paper. I was going to activate them with water, but that's not the only way you can use them. And so I didn't want to, activate them and then it'd be like, okay, well, this is the only way you can use them. Let's just do a scribble. Okay, so these are supposed to be softer, and so you can do different things with them. Like, depending on the type of paper, depending on, you could heat these up slightly with a heat gun to make them even softer. I don't know. I don't recommend like setting your heat gun directly on them. Or if you have a warm day outside, maybe setting them out for an hour or two. Don't leave them out there all day. They'll turn into liquid. If you warm them up, they're probably more movable. I just rolled that between my hands, and I don't think there was a huge difference in how it went down, but alright. So these work kind of like, I've shown you the Faber-Castell gelatos. I like using those because those are really soft. Like, they come in like almost like a lipstick thing where you have to twist them. They are super soft. Then you have your Neocolor 2s, which are hard, more crayon-like. Then you have these distress crayons. I feel like these fall in the middle. They are softer than Neocolor 2s because I don't know of any opportunity I can do this with a Neocolor 2 where I could come in with a blender and smooth that out if I wanted to. You can even use your finger if you want to get smeary. And this is like just for, I mean, this doesn't have to necessarily be coloring pages. This can just be art. I thought I saw somebody use one of these, but I don't think, unless you get them warmer and softer, I don't think a makeup brush is going to do it. However, these are, of course, shouldn't shock anybody. It's the reason I was drawn to them. Water activated. And that is where I think I will get a lot of my use out of them. Now, water activated, again, can be different depending on the type of paper you use. So again, if you're using a watercolor or textured paper, these will probably move more than they do on this cardstock, but they are movable. Or if you use like a satin glazing liquid or something on a coloring page, they will probably move more than just on a plain piece of paper. And I'll show that in a minute. So they're kind of the middle ground. I love my gelatos. I am iffy about my Neocolor 2s, mostly just because I want more color choices on those. I think that's my biggest problem with them. And where did the cat go? I had the cat. I lost the cat. There it is. But I was looking for something where, like I said, similar to a gelato that I could put on the background of a page quickly, like a crayon format, that would dissolve, that would be able to move a little bit with water and give me some texture. I feel like these are good if you're looking for texture in a background. If you're looking for a super smooth, unless you're using, again, watercolor paper or something like that, or the other thing you could do with these, if I can find them, which I really like to do with these types of products. They were in the last place I looked. Okay, this will be good enough. I have a Carandache palette somewhere. What you could do, if you really wanted these to be smooth, is scribble on something with these. Pick it up with a water brush. And then you get your smooth surface. That is one thing I do like to do with my gelatos a lot. I like to do with my gel sticks, kind of like gel sticks and stuff like that too is another good example. So if you really want them to be smooth, you could do this. And because they scribble down easily on the palette, you know, you can put down color pretty quickly versus like a watercolor pencil. So I was looking for something that would complement my gelatos. I am, like I said, iffy about Neocolor 2s. They don't, I don't know. I used them last summer and then I was like, I like these better when I'm using them on paper that has been prepped with like satin glazing liquid. I don't feel like they dissolve well on just plain coloring book paper. And I don't feel like they're soft enough. I wish they were softer. And these crayons kind of give me what I was looking for in those Neocolor 2s. Plus it gives me a unique color palette with the Distress Oxide color palette. And these will probably be the type that I use to either create a textured background or scribble on a palette and paint like that. So the watercolor pencils give me something to do in tiny detail areas. These are more for like big areas. And so I can show you an example of a page I started and I'm still working on. Man, this video went really long. Sorry guys. And it is on Amazon paper. I grabbed, I think it is the Twisted Citron crayon, and I wanted a background on this, but I wanted something with a little bit of texture on it. Like I didn't want it to just be marker. And so I scribbled that crayon all over this, and I activated it with water. And it moved it about half, 50% movement, where it gave me the light green painted background, but it also left enough of the scribbly crayon to create this kind of like grainy texture. I don't know how else to explain it. And I really like that. That's exactly what I was looking for. So sometimes I want backgrounds like that to have a little bit of texture to them. And that's actually a really good way to use these types of products. And like Amazon books will give you that because their paper is really textured. I think the same thing would happen in like a Hannah Carlson book because her paper is so textured. If I didn't like pre-treat the surface, this is probably what would happen is some of the crayon would be left behind and I could activate it. So if you're going to use something like this and water activate it and you don't like this look, definitely test it before you put it on a page and then use the palette method I just showed you if you want something smoother. Sometimes that's what people want. Sometimes people want textured. So yeah, now I have these in the crayons. I went ahead and ordered, and this will be my final rant on this. I went ahead and ordered the set I was missing. Actually, the 3 that are left are sold out. I'm just going to have to wait till they come in. So I'll have all but 3 colors, which I believe is the Lumberjack Plaid, maybe one of Bundled Sage, and Lost Shadow or something like that. But I'll get the rest of the last set. The thing that irritates me about the Distress Oxide sets, the watercolor pencils were like this and the crayons were like this, is they sell them in the color sets and you can't just buy them all together. And I'm like, why? Why can't you just, you know how many colors you're going to put in a product. I'm not saying you have to do it right off the bat, right? Like, go ahead and do your sets right off the bat. But when you get to the end, when you have all your colors created, then just offer the whole set in some sort of packaging. Like, don't make us have to buy bundled sets on Amazon where we have to unwrap like 20 different little packages of crayons or watercolor pencils or something like that. Like it feels wasteful. I like those little tins the watercolor pencils came in, but like if you're using the whole set, it doesn't feel feasible to me to keep them in those little tins. So I have squirreled away those tins. I'm sure I will find a use for them somewhere, but it just feels like if you have somebody that's interested in the whole set, there's a whole lot less wasteful way to do that packaging. And And when you get those bundled sets like that on Amazon, they don't necessarily have everything you're looking for, or they don't necessarily have all the sets. So it wasn't clear in there that this was not all the colors. Or maybe I just didn't read it right. That could be a fair assessment too. But it didn't tell me it was all but the last 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 colors. Like, all but those last set of colors. And like I said, it's not like you don't know what colors are coming out. You know how many you have left because you're using the same palette for everything. And like the Temu, the gel pens irritated me with that too. Like, why have all of them in the little packages? Like, heck, if you offered all those gel pens in a case, so they're already put together in the case, and if they were numbered, I would pay 2 or 3 times what I paid just to get that. And not everybody wants to. Now, some people want the cheaper option so that they can, give people options. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying don't give them the cheaper option. I'm just saying offer a few more options here, because this little piecemeal buying sets thing is not, I'm not enjoying that very much. I think I'm pretty done with that after a couple months of having to go looking like this and researching and stuff. So, but that is like a first world problem there. I am just, again, that it's irritating, but I still bought the stuff. But I think moving forward, I do have some Distress Oxide inks, but I've had them for years. They're probably dried out. I just don't like the idea of using ink on paper because other than ink tints, and even those can bleed through to the back of the page, I've seen some people, I want to use ink. I mean, I love big, bold color, and it's vibrant, and it's stunning, but like, I've seen it cause bleed through and wreak havoc on the opposite pages other people are using them on, and it just feels not messy. I don't know how to put it. I wanted to try them, but I don't think I will be buying this. Like, you could, like, if you really wanted to go out there, you could do, like, the watercolor pencils could be your base. You could use the crayons. The watercolor would be your detail areas. Crayons would be your bigger areas. And then, so all he needs is a set of colored pencils. You can use the ink for backgrounds. All you'd need is a set of colored pencils. And if you like the Distress Oxide line, you'd be pretty set if you liked using all that stuff for coloring. But anyway, alright, so if we look back at this real quick, I gave that a little bit to dry. I did thicken that line up. That pink's not coming through. So yeah, either one of these is a good white option if you want white on everything and not have to worry about bleed through. Okay, this was a long video. Sorry about that. Now I have to spend all the time doing all the links and jumps for it. And then I think I'm just going to go in there and I might color, I might just rest. I don't know, I'm not feeling very well, but it'll be alright. Well, if you have any questions on anything, let me know in the comments. I may have more to say about the Copics and the Molotow after using them, but for the most part, I think they are good solid choices. It's just, do you want to pay a premium for that level? I think with the Molotow, there are certain marker colors that I probably would want to keep and build a set, like a curated set of, because they're refillable. But I don't know if like I would buy the whole line just because it is pretty price prohibitive. Next month is my birthday month. I may have some books coming through. Shoot, I was going to show you all the books too. Yeah, I guess we need to do that. Sorry. We'll do that part. I got so absorbed in talking about these. It's okay. This is going to shock a lot of people. I don't have a ton of books to show you. Not as many as you would think with me. Okay. Here we go. For April, since the last video, I did pick up Cute Guy Moments by Joshua Dunbar, a kind of comfy and cozy book. It's his first one he's put out. I do think it's a lot of fun. He does have color test pages. If you like more guy representation in your coloring books, I think this is a good choice. I actually want to try, I've wanted to do a page out of Easy Fantasy, but I'm almost thinking I might just do one out of here this week, because this is his newest one. It doesn't have the shading that he normally includes in his books, but it does have some shadow, not shadow, but like detail work done, whatever that means. You get what I'm saying. It's very cool. I was actually kind of thinking of the first page. This little guy, that same window setting's kind of what I colored in was it the Christmas coloring book he had? And so I might color it like the same colors and then build the rest of the room off that. That might be a good idea. Naughty Cat's Catitude coloring book. I do have a lot of the cozy and comfy type books this month, which I know a lot of people don't like, and it's not my go-to first choice, but I have been making some exceptions lately, just to add a couple books to my collection, but really overall, like, unless my favorite artist put them out, I'm not going to be picking up a ton. So this month has kind of been an exception for that. If you don't like seeing those, I'm sorry. That's not going to be the usual books I pick up. It's just this happened to be a month for them. Naughty Cat's Catitude. I do like this. This is Hikaru Kotz. This is fun because it's cats getting into trouble. And sometimes I just want... I love the expressions in the book. This is actually quite cute. I like the dog and cat working together. I like this one where he's got the croc on his head. I just think it's a cute book. I have one other Cat's book, Cat Moments, and I think those will probably be the only two I get. Wurley art is another one that does cute and cozy that I do really like, because these have more of mythical vibes to them. This is the newest one, Kingdom Life. Like medieval, mythical, fantasy vibes to them, which I really like. I love cute animals doing people things, but man, that has really been a theme lately. So if you add something unique to it, like a medieval or fantasy element or something, that intrigues me more. Plus, I just like the style of these books. And the artist is on Instagram, so. Mythical Worlds. I really like that one. This one gives me an Adventure Time feel. Actually, the medieval one kind of does too, but I think that's why I'm so drawn to these, is they give me an Adventure Time feel. Which is a show that my husband and I like. We're watching another round of it right now, actually. And I like this one because there are different mythical creatures in this one. So like you have, and you have a list of them here. So I got to show you the little Mothman. The Mothman's adorable. I love the little Mothman. So there's those two. Lenka Filonenko. Here is, I guess, I did go ahead and get the artist edition of this because I love her work so much and I love the paper she puts these on. It's pricey, but I'm almost getting to the point with artists, certain artists, that I'm really having to make a decision on less is more. Like, maybe I should just invest in like a collection of their work and have that coloring book instead of having like every coloring book they've ever owned. I'm not ready to part with all those books yet. No, I'm still hoarding them like a dragon with his gold, but it's one of those things I wish in retrospect I had been able to do, is wait, let them, like Maria Trolle and Kirby Rosanes and a bunch of the other artists have like compilation books, and I really wish I had been able to wait till those compilation books and just gotten those. But you know, hey, hindsight's 2020. But there are certain artists that, Lenka Filonenko, I love her work, and I love the paper the artist copy is on, so I'm willing to splurge on extra, but this is available on Amazon, and it's available in our Etsy shop. So you have a digital version, you have an Amazon version, you have the artist version, in grayscale and line art. So I really appreciate that she tries to give options, budget-friendly options available, options that are available to everyone. So this is called Lovely Year, and I love the grayscale in her pieces. I just think they're stunning. And I love that picture. That picture makes me so darn happy. The laughing fox, like he's taking a little snapshot selfie. I did a page last year in Hello Spring for Watercolor Summer, and I absolutely love the way the Supracolor pencils and the Artisto colored pencils did in this. So, splurged on that. And I also got a little mini coloring book as a gift, which I thought was really nice. I don't know if this is available anywhere, but it's called Me Time, and it's like a little tiny book, and it's pretty cool too. I did go ahead and get 2 more. She had a sale on them. There were books that I wanted in the artist edition, and I did go ahead and get those, and they are on the way. So you're going to see those next month with a Cider Mill Press book, I know for sure. And I don't know what else yet, but I'm sure there's going to be other books. Oh, the one other thing I guess I can show you here at the end is my new mat. Where we went to MTAC, I saw this and I couldn't resist. It's a bunch of ghost kitties. Makes me think of all the kitties I've had that have passed away over time, and it kind of makes me feel like they're all here with me causing trouble. So new mat to have fun with. And I think I'm going to use my other 2 mats on my desk. I might rotate them out every now and then, but for right now, this is kind of my vibe. I love the purple and the blue and the green too. I was going to show some of the things I picked up from MTAC and the Cherry Blossom Festival, but man, we are already way over time. So I don't know. If you want to see those, let me know. I might include those in like a color and chat at the end or something like that. I got some little stuffies, I got some earrings, I got some jewelry, a couple like fans to kind of mount on the wall, just some different stuff. So, but no big deal either way. A bunch of pens. So, all right. Well, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get started on prepping this video. You should be able to get it today, and hopefully I'll be back next weekend with some completed pages. Maybe not the ones that I wanted, but they will be the ones that we have. So we're going to go ahead and do it. But I wanted to get more done this next week, but I think it's going to be a crazy week at work. So who knows? But this weekend I'm going to try to rest up and see if I can get over this little viral snafu thing that's happening. So thanks, and bye for now.